Good morning. How are you doing? I hope you are really well amidst this pandemic. My name is Teacher Lorna, and today we will be learning about the use of past tense and past perfect tense. In this module, you're going to learn the tenses past and past perfect. At the same time, you will also be learning how to use them correctly in varied contexts. This module has a lot of learning activities which will help you understand the lesson, and eventually it will also help you develop your creative thinking skills in expressing yourself. You are encouraged to engage actively in the activities, read the topic discussions, and do the activities provided. This is the module in English 7 entitled Past Tense and Past Perfect Tense. The author is Miss Feveline C. Godoy, and the illustrations were lifted from the internet. At the end of this module, you are expected to master the desired learning competencies and at the same time the following learning objectives. First, determine the regular and irregular verbs. Second, form the simple past tense of regular and irregular verbs. Third, form the past perfect tense. And finally, use the past and the past perfect tenses correctly in varied contexts. But before we study the following, let's try to go back to the things that we have learned in the previous lessons. This will help you in going through this past and past perfect tense. So in our previous lessons, we have learned that tense tells when the action is done. We have learned the simple present. This tells an action that is done at present. It also talks about general truth, habitual action, and in some instances, it tells a simple future time. Now, let us proceed to the simple past and the past perfect. So before that, here are pairs of sentences I would like you to read and understand. Let's read them together. Number 1, Lina usually comes to school early. Yesterday, she came to class late. Second, Grandma visits us every now and then. She visited us last Sunday. Number 3, the class I checked the attendance the other day. Now, take a look at the following sentences. This time, I would like you to identify what is the verb in each sentence. Second, what is the tense of the verb in the first sentence? And what about in the second sentence? So here, I would like you to go over these answers as you go through today's lesson. Now let's see. An action can be done anytime. It could be in the past, in the present, or in the future. But for now, we're going to focus our discussion on the simple past and the past perfect tense. So let's see. When we say simple past tense, this talks about actions that happened in the past. Let's take a look at the example. Last year, I went to Baguio on a holiday. Question, when did I go to Baguio? Last year, correct. And what is the verb in this sentence? The word went. Okay, now there are ways in which we can identify the past tense of a verb. We have here the regular verb. So the simple past tense of regular verb is formed by simply adding D or ED to the base form. Example, listen to listened. Ask, we have asked with an ED. Second one, we also have the simple past tense of irregular verb. In this case, we do not form its past tense by adding D or ED. Rather, we form it by a slight change in the spelling. To give you an example, we have the verbs know, which becomes knew. We do not say knowed. We also have is, it will become was. So that is the simple past. Now let's move to the past perfect tense. So when we say past perfect tense, it is formed by using the auxiliary had plus the past participle of the verb. To give you an example, let's study the following sentences. First, Jose studied his lesson after he had cleaned the farm. The second, Jose had given his grades before his father arrived. So in these sentences, which is the first event? Which is the second event? Now, what is the tense of the verb in the first event? And what is the tense of the verb in the second event? Okay, so I have here 3 sentences for you to do. I would like you to identify the correct form of the verb in the parentheses. So let's have number 1. I had given food to a street child before he asked me for it. What do you think is the correct answer? You're right if your answer is had given. What about number 2? Julio wrote had written a letter. Definitely the answer is wrote. And the last sentence, when Julio went home, his son had played outside. Perfect. The correct answer is had played outside. So once again, when we say simple past, it is an action that happened at a definite time in the past. To form this, the regular verbs, we add d or ed. The irregular verb, we change the spelling. When we say past perfect tense, we are talking about an action that happened before another past action. In the succeeding parts of the module, you will be presented with Activity 1, 2, and 3. At the same time, you will also be doing Assessment 1, Assessment 2, and Assessment 3. At the end of everything, you are to answer the post-assessment. This will gauge whether you have mastered the desired learning competency. If you have any question, you can ask your teacher. You can also ask help from your parents or your siblings. Once again, this is the module in English 7 entitled Past Tense and Past Participle. Thank you very much. I hope you will have a very exciting experience as you go through this module. Thank you and stay safe.